Hello everybody, Yaron from Ecommerce Factor here, and today we're going to compare Shopify and Woocommerce, the top leading platforms for building an e-commerce store. We're going to do a quick overview about what is Woocommerce and what is Shopify, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to look for when you choose an e-commerce platform. Some people I suggest should try and start with Shopify, and some should start with Woocommerce. It depends on many aspects, which I'm going to talk about later in this video. Then we're going to do a cost comparison between both platforms. We're going to compare the monthly fees, the transactional fees, etc. Next step, I'm going to share with you a comparison of the supported payment methods. I'm going to tell you which one do I think is easier for beginners and which one do you need you need coding skills in order to start, or at least some sort of technical knowledge. We're going to talk about the different support options that each of the platforms offers, and then we're going to talk about plugins, integrations, and different apps, the cost of the apps, the size of the community, and basically anything related to integrations. I'm going to share with you in the next step which one has better dropshipping tools, dropshipping add-ons, Chrome extensions, automation aspects, etc. Which one is better for scaling, localization, getting paid in different currencies, stuff like that. And then we'll run a quick summary. I'll give you like the bottom line of which platform is better in my opinion for each use case. Okay, so before we get started, let's do a quick overview about Shopify and Woocommerce. I'm not going to talk about any of the competitors such as Wix or Magento. There are many app platforms out there, and I don't think none of them is as good as Shopify or Woocommerce at the moment. So let's focus on these both. So basically, Woocommerce is a plugin that you put on your WordPress website, and then you can basically do whatever you want with the website. You have full control of the website. It's open source, so you can customize every aspect of your store. But you need to take care of everything. Basically, you get the platform and you're the owner of the platform. Shopify, in opposing, is a e-commerce solution that provides you everything that you need to create a store, automate it, accept payments, etc. But it's not your platform. It's a platform built by Shopify, and you're just using the platform for your own good. This has pros and cons, which we're going to talk about. One thing that you need to keep in mind is that Shopify takes care of all the aspects: the domain, the web hosting, the security, the caching. So you're not the owner of the platform, you're just renting a website from Shopify. This is how I like seeing this. Woocommerce, you're the owner of the website. Shopify, you are renting a website. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the cost of each platform. There's a huge difference between the cost of the beginning, just getting started, and the cost later down the road when you start scaling, getting more sales, and your revenue is very high. But I know many of you are beginning, you want to start lean, so I'm going to give you all the details. And obviously, if you start with one platform, it doesn't mean that you have to continue with the other platform when you're scaling. So Woocommerce is a plugin for WordPress, like I said, so it's freely available in WordPress as a plugin, but since you're going to own everything related to the store, so you have to buy a domain name, you have to buy an SSL certificate, and you have to pay for the hosting. So normally the domain is going to cost you like $15, $20, $10, depends which domain you're going to buy. You can buy from GoDaddy or any other platform. The SSL certificate costs about $70, and the web hosting depends which web hosting you're going to use, but it costs between $4 to $8. Shopify, on the other hand, makes it much more easier to start an online store. So you pay for a basic plan. A basic plan can cost anywhere between $29 per month, and then the other plans are going to be $79 or $297. But you can start with the $29 per month, and you pay on a monthly basis. But Shopify is going to take care of the hosting and the SSL certificate, and you can also probably purchase a domain from them, which is going to be like around 10 or 15 bucks. But you need to keep in mind that in Shopify you also need to pay transactional fees. So for every sale that you get, you're going to need to pay Shopify a certain percentage from their revenue. So if you're in the basic plan, you're going to pay Shopify around 3% of each sale, which once you start scaling becomes pretty significant. Then you can change the Shopify plan and reduce the fees, because if you take the advanced plan of Shopify, you pay a smaller percentage fee from each transaction. Another thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the Shopify apps cost way more than the plugins in Woocommerce, but we're going to talk about later on in the video. All in all, if you consider only costs and you're not a beginner and you're starting to scale, I definitely think that Woocommerce is much more cost effective than Shopify. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about, which is also related to the costs, is the supported payment gateways. As you develop your store and you will want to launch it and start getting sales, you see that each country has different supported payment gateways, and each platform has different supported payment gateways. So Shopify, for example, they offer a solution that is called Shopify Payments, which you can use in order to get paid. And obviously I'm not talking about PayPal, which is supported in many of the countries, but many times PayPal can't, if you have only PayPal, you can't receive credit card payments. So Shopify Payments is an interesting solution. The problem with Shopify Payments is it's not supported in many countries. It's only supported in the most developed countries such as UK, US, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Singapore, etc. Obviously, as time goes by, I believe that they will support more countries. So that being said, you can use Shopify Payments if you have a Shopify store and you're in one of these countries. But if you're not in one of these countries and you're planning to use a different payment gateway, so Shopify will charge you an extra fee for using a different payment gateway. This can be anywhere between 1 to 3% all in all, and it depends on the plan that you're using. And obviously you also will have to pay to the payment gateway itself. So every transaction will be might cost you about 4 or 5%. But they do offer a lot of integrations, and you can use many different payment gateways for Shopify. Obviously you need to check the supported payment gateways in your country. Woocommerce, in opposing to Shopify, they do also offer a lot of payment gateways and supported payment solutions. They don't have a native solution that they have developed, but it doesn't really matter, because you can basically use whichever payment gateway that you want. The good thing about Woocommerce is that they don't charge you an extra fee for every transaction, so you just have to pay the payment gateways, their fees. So all in all, when you scale, Woocommerce is going to be cheaper than Shopify. Okay, next thing, which is very important, is which one is easier to use. So the bottom line is Shopify is easier to use. Woocommerce, if you're using Woocommerce, you do have to have some technical skills, or at least hire someone which has technical skills. So why do I say this? So because Shopify is basically a fully hosted platform, which means you don't need to install, manage, update anything. You don't need to worry about anything. This means you don't have to worry about the performance, backing up, compatibility issues, security. Shopify is going to take care of everything. This is basically why you pay them every month, and also as I said, the fees for every transaction. Once you start, you launch the Shopify store. It's going to be so easy. Every beginner can build a Shopify store in like less than an hour. You can also see the video. I've created a video of which I show a guide of how to build a Shopify store. It took me less than an hour, and if you follow the steps in the video, it's going to take you like by maximum 3 hours or 4 hours. And after a few days of playing around with Shopify platform, you're going to understand everything and know exactly how to run your store, how to manage inventory, and you don't need to worry about anything. This is awesome. This is why Shopify is so easy, and it's such a good solution for beginners. The downside about Shopify, ease of use. It's something we're going to talk about later, and I already mentioned this before. You don't have a lot of customization options because Shopify as a platform takes care of everything. You have a lot of constraints. You don't have freedom, but this is not so necessary unless you start scaling and you want to do very interesting and out-of-the-box funnels. Woocommerce, in opposing to this, you do have a lot of freedom, but the freedom comes with responsibility. You need to take care of the updates, you need to keep backups, you need to make sure the website is secured. You have to take care of everything basically. It's not so complicated. There are a lot of guides out there and a lot of plugins that help you take care of a lot of aspects of running your store, but you do have to have some sort of understanding, some technical background. Knowing CSS and HTML can be a huge advantage. So all in all, I think that Woocommerce you do need to have some technical background, but it's not complicated at all. So if you have some sort of technical background and you're willing to invest in learning some aspects, so Woocommerce is not so complicated, but it's obviously more complicated than Shopify. Another thing to mention is that if you use Woocommerce, you can approach VAs or developers which are pretty cheap. Some cost around $5 per hour, and you can use them as your site admins and ask them to take care of all the things that Shopify is going to take care for you, like the hosting, the security, the backing up of everything. It's just making sure that the site is running flawless and the performance is good enough or satisfactory for you. All in all, I would say that if you're looking for ease of use, Shopify is a winner. Definitely for beginners, Shopify is going to be better and easier to launch your store. But once you develop your store and start scaling, you're going to meet a lot of constraints and a lot of, not exactly problems, but restrictions that Shopify has. And then you might want to move to Woocommerce, which is a lot more customizable. Okay, we talked about the ease of use of each platform, and now we need to speak about the support options. So because Shopify is a hosted platform, anytime you have a problem, you can contact their support team via chat or via email. They are available 24/7 and they are really, really good. When I say good, I mean they can solve basically any problem that you have very fast, very efficient. And they have an awesome support team, which is very convenient if you're a beginner. If you have any problems, technical issues, design issues, they can help. And if they don't know the answers, they're going to refer you to articles or to Shopify experts that can help you. So their support team is the highest level of support I've ever seen in my life. Woocommerce, as we said during this video, a lot of times you're on your own, you're independent, you don't have anyone professional from the Woocommerce team that you can approach. But something to keep in mind that because Woocommerce is so popular and widely used and open source. So basically, there is a lot of data and answers and forums about any problems or technical issues you might encounter when you use Woocommerce. So I have both Shopify and Woocommerce stores, and whenever I have a problem with my Woocommerce store, I just Google it and I immediately find an answer, because most of the problems that we face in our store, somebody has already faced it in the past and probably found a solution. And many times plugin companies develop a solution for specific problems in Woocommerce. So basically you will have answers, but it's going to be a bit harder to find them if you use Woocommerce and you don't use the Shopify support team. But also I find it important to mention that if you use Woocommerce, so you'll have a lot of developers and programmers that can help you for a cheap hourly rate to solve your problems. The next aspect we're going to talk about is the integrations, the apps, the Shopify apps and the Woocommerce plugins. Basically, you have both platforms, but you will need to do some adjustments and use the power of plugins and apps in order to enhance the experience in your store, to automate fulfillment. Many aspects you need these plugins and apps for improving many aspects of your store, also in the front end and also in the back end. Shopify and Woocommerce have a lot of apps and plugins. In Woocommerce it's called plugins, in Shopify it's called apps. Basically you can find whatever you want. I haven't encountered I almost never encountered any time that I had an idea or needed something and I couldn't find a plugin or an app in each of these platforms. One thing to note is in Shopify you have less apps, but all the apps are of a higher level in my opinion. And in plugin you have a lot more volume. I mean, many more plugins. Everybody is developing plugins for Woocommerce, but some of them are not good at all, really low quality. But it doesn't really matter because you're going to sort by ranking and number of downloads, and you're going to choose only from the best plugins available. Regarding the cost, so generally speaking, most of the apps in Shopify, the good apps, start with a free, with some sort of free plan, which is very limited, and then you will have to upgrade to a paid plan in any of the good Shopify apps. And these are normally reoccurring payments. You pay on a monthly basis between 9 to 29, even sometimes $79 per month. Sometimes it's also based on the amount of page views, or they charge a certain percent of the revenue that was driven by the app. It really depends. And in Woocommerce, the majority of the plugins that I encountered and I use, they are all free, or I pay them on a yearly basis. But generally speaking, the plugins for Woocommerce are much cheaper than the plugins for Shopify. Shopify apps normally are very expensive, but but sometimes you get a better support for these apps, higher quality. So regarding the bottom line for integrations and apps and plugins, both platforms offer everything that you need. There are many apps and many plugins available. I think that down the road, at the end of the day, Shopify apps are going to be more expensive than the plugins you're going to buy for Woocommerce. And another thing to keep in mind, because Woocommerce is an open source, even if you don't have a plugin, you can ask a developer to create a plugin for you, and then you can only pay a one-time payment just to fix or create exactly what you need, and this is also can be cost effective in the long run. Okay, when it comes to dropshipping with Shopify or Woocommerce, I really don't see any major difference. Like I said, with the apps and the plugins, Both platforms have a lot of solutions that can make your life as a dropshipper easier. Automation solutions for fulfillment, integrations with CRMs, conversion rate optimization elements, analytic elements. Basically, if you need anything for a dropshipping needs, or at least based on my experience, I was able to find also in Shopify and also in Woocommerce. So I guess you can say that both, if you're dropshipping, you won't encounter any problems. If you're using Shopify or Woocommerce, it doesn't really matter. So which is better for scaling? So for those of you who don't know, scaling is basically when you start seeing a lot of sales and you want to increase the revenue of your store, maybe launch in other markets, localize some part of your store. Basically, it's growing your store. You're not a beginner anymore. Now you want to scale, spend more money on ads, and create a bigger store and make more profit. So for scaling, the good thing about Shopify is they take care of everything regarding operation-wise. Even if you're running a lot of traffic to your store and have many sales, you know that Shopify is taking care of everything, and you just need to take care of the marketing and the sales, that the backend, all the technical aspects of being taken care of by the Shopify platform. So your mind is clear, you just need to get more sales. In Woocommerce, you need to take care of everything. So if you're starting to scale and now your performance of the site is becoming a bit slower, or you have technical issues, you need to take care of them. So in this aspect, Woocommerce is a bit more complicated. Once you start scaling, you need to take care of everything, or you can hire someone to take care of this. On the other hand, I think Woocommerce is better for scaling because you don't have any restrictions. You have a lot of freedom. You can create multiple websites in different languages, and you can get paid in many different currencies, which you can't at the moment in Shopify. I didn't mention this during the video, but it's very important to emphasize that Shopify at the moment, in Shopify, you can only get paid in one currency. Even if you use a currency switcher that shows to your customers the cost of the product in their currency, it doesn't mean that they are going to pay in their currency. They're going to pay in the main currency of your store. This can impact the conversion rates, and I don't like this at all, and this is why I'm trying to move away from Shopify as much as possible. So for scaling, if I have to give a bottom line, I think that Woocommerce takes more technical background, and you need to maintain a lot of maintenance work, but you get a lot of freedom, and you can localize easily, and you can do basically whatever you want. Some people prefer Shopify because it's hassle-free and you just need to take care of the sales. So I can't really say what is the bottom line in my opinion. I think I prefer Woocommerce in this aspect of scalability. One thing to keep in mind that I do, because I have many stores, I use Zapier, which is an integration and automation software, in order to make my life easier and fulfill all the orders from one backend. So all my sales for my Woocommerce store, they automatically go into my Shopify backend, which helps take care of everything and makes the operation more scalable and easier. So to summarize, which one is better? So it really depends on your personal skills and what are your preferences. Shopify is much more easier to use. It doesn't require you to do any maintenance work. You don't have to install anything. You get started quickly. You set up a payment easily, and everything is very clear, very easy. But on the other hand, you don't have full control over everything, and your cost will go higher and higher once you scale. You have to pay a lot more money for the transactional fees, for the integrations, the apps, and you're still kind of limited because you don't have full control of everything. Woocommerce is more for people with a technical background or some sort of technical understanding, or people who are willing to hire someone with a technical background. Woocommerce is open source, so you can customize everything in your website. The costs are lower, but you do have to maintain the software and take care of all the maintenance aspects. For me, in my opinion, you can use them both. What I do is, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I have a Shopify store which I started with, and once I start scaling, I opened multiple Woocommerce stores, and I created an integration between the stores. So I use both Shopify and Woocommerce. But if I had to choose, I would easily say that if you're a beginner and you don't have a lot of money and a lot of technical background, stick to Shopify. It's going to be easier. And once you start scaling, start getting sales, and you want to develop your store, and you know this is your main source of income, I would consider checking out Woocommerce and migrating from Shopify to Woocommerce, or using them both simultaneously. That's it, guys. I hope this video helped you and gave you value, and maybe now you have a bit more information regarding which platform you should choose. If you like the video, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our Facebook group. The links are going to be in the description below. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.